Can you make a car sound like two completely different cars simply by changing the exhaust? Idle, it sounds perfect. Once it gets to here and back, this is all titanium. It sounds wild. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hoonigan Project Garage. Today we're going to be doing some science here. Now, here's the question I'm going to propose. Can you make one single car, the sound like two completely different cars, completely different engine sounds with simply changing the exhaust? So that's what we're gonna figure out today, because we've got some cool stuff on our hands. We're gonna use my 2010 C6 Corvette as our test subject here. So in my opinion, there's two different schools of thought when it comes to V8s and V8 noises, specifically sound. You've got your traditional American pushrod, throaty V8 sound. And then you've got your very refined, high-tech, high-revving, overhead cam, flat plane crank V8 sound. Those seem to be the two most prevalent sounds when it comes to V8s that sound the best. So, and this is how we're gonna do it. We've got two very, very different exhausts. Now, if at first glance, they look pretty similar, but here is where they differ. On one side, we've got our very traditional sound. We've got that big throaty V8 growl sound. And on this side, this is really, really unique stuff. This one is where we're really gonna get interesting, because this is where we're gonna find out that thing can actually sound like a flat plane crank V8. This is a new kit by Solartech USA, and basically what it is you'll notice it's kind of like a tri-Y design. Really, it's not tri-Y, it's like a 4 and a 2 to 1 setup, and that does help increase scavenging. You'll notice it goes to this big 4-inch section, splits back into 2 3-inch, goes over the axle and dumps out. Now, this is gonna be crazy loud. There's no mufflers on this, but it does change the pitch rather significantly. This kit is, like I said, this is more of your traditional stuff. So you've got 1 7/8 equal length long tube. These are from Texas Speed. Then it goes into this 3-inch X pipe. And then we've got our very rowdy but streetable Borla ATAC catback. Guarantee you've heard something like this. I have not run these on a Corvette. I've used the old XR1s, but these new attack mufflers, they should sound pretty sick. American noise, I don't know what to call this. This is more like refined Italian V8 sounds. This is more supercar sounds. So I think what we need to do now is actually, the other day, Martin, who designed this system for Solartech USA, actually stopped by. We went over some of the tech that went into it and how this actual exhaust works. It's pretty neat. One thing that I find very interesting is that they designed this fully in CAD before even starting to attempt to make this. They 3D scanned the car and then designed this all in CAD, and then they ran it through a system which he'll tell you about. Let's check that out. Martin, thank you for coming out, and thank you for designing this. But talk to me about this and how it works. What are we calling this? Because it's like what, was this 8-4-1? What do you call it?
We're calling it the 8-4-1 system. The reason we made this was because we wanted to get that 8-to-1 sound in your regular everyday street Corvette, and that's what we accomplished here.
Is this hand welded or is this robot welded? Because it's like all the welds are really nice. I mean, it's all TIG. How's this done?
It's all made in small batches, not made on an assembly line. Really talented American labor.
Hell yeah. I gotta call this out, because this is the full race system. Because I don't know if you noticed this, but there's not a single resonator on that. This is loud, isn't it?
This lets the system sound how it should.
Okay.
We've tried many different mufflers, and we feel they all take something away. So yeah, this is the party system.
Yeah, it sounds very different than your typical Corvette system. But what really impressed me was A, the design, but B, this dyno sheet. So after a single dyno run with these compared to a set of American racing headers, basically like a very similar setup to what I had on the car. You can see that there's a big power bump, especially through the middle of the power band, which is where you're using your car 90% of the time. So I wanted to see if there's a real difference in drivability between this old system and then this beautiful thing. Let's take a look at these. So you also brought another resonated catback. This weighs like nothing. But you said something about the packing in these mufflers. Can you explain what you were talking about earlier?
All right, yeah, so our headers produce a really high frequency sound. Most mufflers are designed to cancel all frequencies. So in order to not take away from our sound, we have these packed specifically just for our headers. They're a little small because we just want to hear the sound.
Because you just here to party, right? Tell you what, this kind of slip fit on. Can you pop that off? Let me just take a look at it. I can't believe how light this is, man. This is honestly like, oh, sorry.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Look at that. This is cool. So it's a very specific packing that only kills low frequency, or it doesn't kill the high frequency stuff?
It only kills the low frequencies.
Okay. Unique. Well, we'll see what this sounds like. Tell you what, I think first things first, we're going to install those headers, get those bolted in, and then we'll slap on everything else, and then we'll do some sound clips. All right, so this is actually kind of unique. So installing these headers on the passenger side, we actually go from the top. And so we pull off of the two connector pieces and the springs, wiggle this thing down. I'll get these lines out of the way for the catch can. Nice. And that's because the runners on this side kick out a little longer to make it equal length.
Yep.
Sick, I love that. Taking a quick break from this episode because we just got something super sick for the yard. It's this, which is a Zamboni. What's this thing called, Josh?
This is a Billy Goat.
Okay, Billy Goat. Is it a vacuum?
So it's an industrial vacuum.
Uh-huh.
We use this to pick up all those tire shreds that you guys leave behind on the yard.
Ah, okay.
Fired up.
Okay. Do it be chopping though.
Make the chop, Zach.
I'm gonna call that a 4.36 out of 10. All right, so why is this thing blowing everywhere? Like,
Well, most of the stuff's pretty worn out on it. There's a big hole right there at the bottom.
Dude. Oh, what? That's so gross.
We're definitely gonna need some parts for it, but I found some. So if you got a company card or something.
All right, let me see what you got. So what do we got?
So you have a sock, you have a skirt, and you have the actual bag itself.
Sick. eBay Motors saves the day once again. All right, now we got a clean yard so we can do more shreds and more terror and more destruction. Let's go, baby! Holy shit. Just want to say, like, clearance is really nice on these. Now, one thing that we did do was, and Martin brought this up to me. He says, there's two ways we can do this. We can disconnect the steering shaft and pull it out, or, which I think hurt him a little bit, is we can cut it right here and make this two pieces. It was really easy to install with two pieces. I have to say that. It was painful to cut a billet flange like that was so beautiful, but it did make the install super easy. And if you've ever disconnected the steering shaft in a Vette and then not reconnected it properly, like let's say if it was just one tooth off or misaligned, it is a motherfucker. And it also throws off your system. I just want to call out that look at this hardware on here. Like all these titanium studs and nuts, all 12 point, really beautiful looking stuff. And look, good clearance. We're gonna be able to get to those springs on the bottom. How are we looking on that side? Oh yeah. Amazing. And look at that, we're not running up against anything. It actually has better clearance in the back here than the old headers did. So the old headers are kind of like rubbing all up against this. All the wiring and the starter there is really close, so this is nice. I like when you can use a piece of wood to finagle that. So when installing these, top pipes get installed first, then the bottom pipes. This one's gonna be a little tight, you gotta wiggle it around and then boom, but once the collector goes on, it'll all be peachy. All right, what's next? Just collector slide on? Or do you wanna get the springs on? Springs or collector?
Springs.
All right, kit is on. Boy, does it look good. This thing is super light, really motorsport looking. We're about to see how it sounds. Now the install is a little bit trickier than a standard exhaust on a Corvette. It's done slightly differently, but I think this end result is definitely worth it. The look is incredible. Hell yeah.
All right, fire this thing up.
I thought you wanted something quiet and practical.
We got options here, but this is like the full race. Now at idle, it sounds perfect. It's perfect. Like this is how cars should sound at idle. This is great.
Zach lives in a condo with a shared garage. How do you possibly start this thing up? Actually, I don't know what neighbors would really allow that. Jesus Christ. That's the quiet one. Nice practical exhaust setup. Totally, for a daily. I'm gonna go for a little drive.
Man, it's crazy to think that like just exhaust pattern design could change the way a car sounds so much.
Oh yeah.
Like when we were kids, you would do an H or an X pipe and you could kind of tell when someone flew by your high school and you could be like, that's an H pipe for sure. But this is like, it sounds like a whole different car.
Yeah.
If I didn't know what it was, I could never guess what vehicle this was. Yo, it sounds like a Ferrari.
Right?
No, I kind of love it. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's weird. It's kind of like,
What the fuck? This thing sounds insane.
it's kind of growing on me. Like, it's so weird. Like, it's free with my mind.
I don't really like the way it sounds free rev, but with load on it, driving, it sounds insane. No, it's insane. I can't believe it sounds like this.
Right?
Did you change your tune or does it just do that?
It actually runs better. I swear to God, it's crazy.
Well, the scavenging on the header is probably more effective. Yo, it's insane. I can't believe it sounds like this. Like you would think this is a Ferrari or some sort of like small 4-liter V8 type thing, you know? We're gonna do a little beans pull. Oh, it's definitely unique. It sounds like nothing I've ever heard before, and I don't know, I sort of really sweat small displacement, high revving V8s, like exotic engines and stuff, so to me it's super cool, but I get it. If you want that like rugged pushrod V8 sound, it's definitely not it.
All right, so tested out the Solartech kit. It sounds friggin' wild, very different, not anything that I would have expected. Almost, it's kind of like a mind, really, because you don't expect that sound coming out of a Corvette. So now let's throw on the traditional system with the Borla Attack Catback, see how that sounds. Let's go. All right, so we've tested the Solartech kit. Obviously, it sounds crazy. I honestly did not expect that sound to come out of a Corvette.
Most unique sounding LS that I've heard in a while. That header design into the collector is insane and has made such a wild difference this thing. Super high pitched, really exotic sounding. If I close my eyes, I'd have no idea what type of car just drove by.
Yeah. So now what we've done is we've gone to the traditional setup. So we're on the long tubes, the X-pipe with the Borla Attack Catback. Now,
This is a more traditional style setup for a Corvette or most V8. So you got your headers that come into collectors, they merge into an X that's a couple feet down the line, and then into some round mufflers. So this is the all-American setup.
so you want to hit him with startup? less refined.
Dude. All right, let's take this thing out for a little rip.
So, the low RPM casual driving, it's definitely louder. I feel like the other system was like a little more like refined.
Yeah, it's just got more bass.
Yeah, like it's like resonating more, but it absolutely growls.
But it's not, so the difference, people always have a hard time understanding or differentiating drone versus loud.
Yeah.
You want your car to be loud. Loud is fun. You don't want drone, and this doesn't drone.
No.
Yeah, it sounds good. I like the decel pops, that's nice.
Hey.
That was 99 degrees. Fuck, this thing rips.
Great car.
Yeah, this is great.
So definitely very aggressive in cruising, but very bassy. Oh, here.
It's not bad. I mean, right now, cruising at like 2,000 RPM, it's like,
What I like
Really
about
nice.
what I do like about this is the old catback that I had on the SLP. It would drone super bad at this RPM
Yeah.
right here, and the whole car would be like boom, right? And it would kind of like rattle your brain. This doesn't, which is really surprising. Like right now, it would be so unbearable at this like we're at like 1,800, 1,900 RPM. That's when it was like the most drone in this car.
yeah. No, it sounds nice. This is a
We
good
can actually
setup.
have a conversation.
Yeah, at 2,000 RPM, which is usually like the drone epicenter
Yes.
for just annoying resonance noises.
Exactly. So should we get an exterior?
Yeah. Well, if I had to look up what a Corvette sounded like in the encyclopedia, that would be it. My God, this thing sounds sick. Yeah,
Feels good.
that's about as good as it's gonna get.
Feels good. I will say this, the power difference is, it's noticeable, right? So mid-range power with the Solera Tech, really nice, right? You can tell that there's a definite increase in that like low end to mid-range bump, right? So like torque output, definitely there. All right, so there you have it. Two completely different sounds coming out of the same car. Obviously, you saw it. So now the question is, what type of person are you? Are you that throaty, growling American pushrod, boat-sounding V8 dude? Or are you a refined, high-revving, harmonically beautiful, flat-plane crank V8 sounding type person? Both of these exhausts are great. Obviously, they both perform well and they both sound great in their own rights. Now, here's the difference. Price-wise, probably gonna be the biggest factor in differentiation here. Those Solera Tech units are probably not going to be cheap, but the quality, second to none. I mean, those are all handmade, titanium, like very rare materials, super light and well engineered. The other kit with those Texas Speed long tubes, an X-pipe, and the Borla Attack muffler and the Borla Attack catback, obviously a little more cost effective and readily available. So, I'm sure there's not crazy wait times on all that stuff. So now the only thing that's left to do is you comment below. You tell us which system you like best. What sound do you like? Which system do you think I should actually keep on this Corvette? Till the next time.